back to the Jack and Glenn channel. I'm Jackie.
And I'm my husband, Glenn.
He is my husband, Glenn. And we have a special video we're doing now with some breaking news that we want to talk about. A post that Chris Williams from Married at First Sight this season put on Instagram.
Yeah, he put it on Instagram earlier this afternoon. And, we're going to get Jackie to read it. And I know a lot of you guys are going to have your opinions on it. But we're just going to give you what we feel. And some things that talk about some things that we've been through.
Yeah, and so in case you don't know, I don't know if you've been hiding under a rock, if you haven't been watching this season, but Chris is expecting a baby with his ex-fiance, Mercedes. And there's been speculation, some pictures have come out of recent of him and her on a vacation, and she doesn't look pregnant. So it was speculations of whether she was ever pregnant or did she lose the baby. And so based on Chris's post, you'll see what it says. But he says, I wrestled with this, but here it goes. August 2020, I found out some of the greatest news I had ever heard. I would be a dad. Even though this was the case, it was unfortunate given certain circumstances. I just wanted to be the best dad I could be. It was the most confused period I had ever experienced. My family was happy because there was going to be an addition to our family. Well, during the latter part of October, Mercedes would complain about stomach pains that gradually got worse. On October 28, 2020, we rushed her to the hospital. Because I wasn't the husband, I couldn't go to the room due to COVID. But after a time, I managed to get to the back. When I got there, I was met with cold silence. I found out that she had a miscarriage. I had never been through this before, so I didn't know what feelings were normal and what was abnormal. All that I know is it felt like a funeral. We were devastated that a baby that made a grand entrance this big in my life now has made a grand exit. I instantly hated this from Mercedes, as she had already been through a lot, but she demonstrated the strength and fortitude to get through this. I wrestled with posting this, but this is real life. Not that an explanation is owed, but we do have my chart documents that detail the day the pregnancy results came back from the doctor on August 31st, 2020, and all paperwork regarding the miscarriage, October 28th, 2020. 1 in 4 pregnancies ends in miscarriage. I pray for all women who have experienced this. Tough situation to be in. Little nugget, I hate that I will never meet you, but I will always love you.
So Chris posted that on Instagram. A lot of people make comments. First of all, this is not an indictment against Chris or Mercedes at all. Hearts and prayers, our prayers and thoughts go out to them. And the reason our thoughts and prayers go out to them because we've been through this. As husband and wife, we've been through a miscarriage. The first time my wife got pregnant, she had a miscarriage. And from a man's perspective, there's not, one of the toughest times I've ever been through because there's nothing I could do. Nothing I could say, nothing I could do to make it better. Being there, and I know how he is as a husband. Even though he's the boyfriend and not the husband, you wanted to be there in that room and to be there and see, even just to hold her hand and even talk to her. Let's forget about the fact that he was married to Paige. This is a mother of his child, regardless of the circumstances why they're together. To be there in the midst of COVID, to be there to be with her as a supportive partner is something that's needed. And I'm saying that from a man who happened to be there with my wife as we found out the news through the ultrasound, and we found out she had to go to the procedure to remove the baby that had died. It's a traumatic experience, and so you dealing with this, and you're not married, and then you're dealing with people on top of that on social media not believing that the fact that the woman who had a miscarriage, that you're making a story up.
Mm-hmm. And to that I would say, Chris may be a lot of things, but I think you'd have to be a cruel somebody to make up the fact that the mother of your child had a miscarriage. If you've ever been around anybody, or even if you haven't been around anybody that's had a miscarriage, if you don't know anything about it, it'd be cruel to lie and say that happened when it didn't. And one thing I want to add to what my husband said is we didn't have just one miscarriage, we had 2, and at different stages. So the first miscarriage that I had, it was my very first pregnancy as a married couple. Well, pregnancy with, when we first got pregnant after we were married. But so I was only about 6 weeks. So about the time she was telling Chris is the time I miscarried. And so in that space, like, it was really hard because, you know, just to give a little background, my father had passed earlier in the year, and I was really excited and wanted him to be around to know that we had another grandchild of his on the way. He already had 2 grandchildren, but to know that we would be expecting. And so my father passed in March, and I found out in October that I was pregnant. No, September. Found out in September that I was pregnant. And then in October, I found out that I lost the baby. I had an ultrasound, and there was no heartbeat, no anything. And like my husband said, it was a hard thing because we wanted this pregnancy so bad. You know, first of all, you know, from my father, had he been around, was excited for him to be there. And then after losing him, it was exciting to know that, you know, we lost something, but we could gain, you know, a baby, to bring some light and some happiness, some joy into a time of grieving. It was months later, but I mean, you know, of course, I still miss my father to this day. But what my husband said was, you know, at that point, it's like nothing either one of us could do. The baby was gone. And even though it was just a little lima bean at the time, you know, you still, once you find out you're pregnant, you have a connection to know that, first of all, that God has blessed you to be able to create a human being, and thinking about what's going to be, what's the months ahead going to be, and looking to the point where you deliver the baby. So you get this connection, and then to lose that, you know, it was hard. I mean, I remember coming home from the doctor, finding out, and I just stretched out across the bed, and I just cried. And as a man, you know, men like to fix and try to, you know, alleviate and, you know, help out. And it was no helping with that. He couldn't put the baby back. He couldn't bring the baby back. And he couldn't not make me feel hurt. And him feel hurt too, you know? And
so, you know, and that's the way it is. So regardless of how you feel about Chris and how he's treating Paige, he's going through, at this time where she had a miscarriage, she had a lot of emotion. Even if you watch Married at First Sight, you see that there was some kind of excitement about the fact that she was pregnant. That even though that was his ex-girlfriend, he wanted to leave her, he wanted to create a family, he wanted to stay something together. So there was some type of excitement, regardless of the circumstance. There was excitement that they would be able to bring life onto the earth. Even before he started treating Paige wrong, he had always been talking about seed. Having a seed. He's always been talking about having a legacy to leave behind. He always talked about having a baby. They want to have a baby on honeymoon night. So he'd always been talking about children, which he wanted. To now to be in a place where you have a child who you think is coming to fruition. You made all these other life decisions that he made to stay with the mother of his child, and now to come to find out that you lost the child. There's a lot of emotion there, a lot of mixed feeling there. There's a lot of situation where you're going, a lot of things running through your mind. Am I being punished for my behavior? Did I do something wrong? Did she do something wrong? Is something that we could have did to prevent it? Is there something, you know, I know some of you probably out there, the Bible says reap what you sow. So there's all this thing coming that's going through his mind from a standpoint. I'm talking for me, and as a man, when this happened to us, a lot of things were going through my mind. Should I have done this? Should I have done this? Anything I could have prevented? Well, is it because I got this, or because I did this? Why God? You start to question yourself. So I can imagine him going through this and being in this situation, because I've been there, questioning himself. Is it something that I did? Are you paying me back for something I did? Are you paying me back for something Mercedes did? Why have we not? Why is this not coming to fruition? You know, so again, I'm going to look at it from both sides. And some of you may, you know, leave the comment in the comment section. Maybe it's a way God saying, you know what, I don't want to put the baby in no mess. Maybe it's just a situation where God said, you know what, I don't want to put this child in this drama. So what I'm going to do, because I blessed you with it, I'm going to make sure that I take away till you get yourself together. Now, I don't know what your religious belief is that's watching this video. I just believe that God sometimes does that.
And I'm going to preface that by saying, okay, so like I said, we had a miscarriage before our oldest. But in between our middle child and our youngest child, I had a miscarriage as well at 16 weeks. So I was much further along. And so that was like a circumstance where I would say, like you were saying, you know, I went for some blood work that you get all the time when you're pregnant, a triple screen where they're checking for Down syndrome, and it came back abnormal. And I had to like come back quickly to get an ultrasound. Also, I had to come back for an ultrasound because my amniotic fluid was low. So I had to like really push a lot of fluids, and so they wanted to check that. But when I came in, they were like, you know, the test was abnormal. The baby might have Down syndrome or whatever. And it turned out that anyway, so when I went for the ultrasound, what he said, for real, it's like, for real, I'm doing an ultrasound and it's silence. It's quiet. Now, I'm a nurse. I know what that means. That means I'm checking to see something's not right. I'm thinking about it. I'm listening. So I knew something wasn't right. And so anyway, when they did the ultrasound, there was no heartbeat. The baby didn't have a heartbeat. So with the abnormal test anyway, I had a choice whether I wanted to do an amnio. So I still did an amniocentesis. And when it came back, it wasn't positive for a chromosome abnormality, which Down syndrome would have been. But in the ultrasound, it was something abnormal, like a growth on the baby. So I said that to say that in this case, it was something wrong with the baby. And, you know, it may have been that God was like, you know, it's too much for them to handle. You know, I'm going to take the baby. The baby didn't survive because something was wrong. You know, you never know what the real with you. I'm going to get hooked for a minute. You know, if I have a baby with an issue, I'm going to be extra protective of that baby. I'm not going to want nobody to treat my baby wrong, you know. And it takes a lot of dedication to deal with a baby that has whatever kind of issue it is. Down syndrome, a missing limb, whatever the case may be. And I'm tender. You know, that would have broke my heart, you know. And so, you know, maybe that's what it was. You know, you never know, but
you never know. If you live by scripture, he said, sometimes I'll never put no more on you than you can bear.
Right.
And you never know that some people, he may not have been able, in our situation, may not have been able to bear that at the time. We were young and all that at that time. We're still young now, but I'm saying much younger than we were. So you never know. But you know, one thing Chris said in here that I thought was kind of interesting that I wanted to point out was that he said when his family found out that Mercedes, his ex-girlfriend, mind you, he's married now, but they find his ex-girlfriend is pregnant, that his family's happy. And I think, I don't want to read too much into that, but I think his family's happy that the fact that there's a child on the way. Not the circumstances of how the child came about.
Because I'm sure they dealt with that too. Like, oh, you still messing with her?
Yeah.
I thought you didn't want to be with her. Come on, son. If you're not going to be with her, why are you still laying with her? You know, past all of that.
Yeah.
You know, because Dad said he wanted a Crystal and a Chris the third.
And I think even with this situation, my heart goes out to both of them because they're going through this. Now, as he's going through this, he knows that this TV show is going to come on. Knows that how he's going to look, how he portrayed himself, or how he behaved, and now how they act. And one thing you got to give him, he's not hiding from any of this. He's answering questions. He didn't have to do this. And I want to give him credit for that. He didn't have to explain anything to anybody. He didn't owe us anything. But he said, you know, I think it's Facebook, he got permission to share it. And so you want to share it. And it's up to you. Whether you believe it or not, that's fine. I just want to let you know that if going through a miscarriage as a guy, I think too many people doesn't look at the guy as perspective of it, that we as men don't have an issue, or we as men don't deal with this as well. We as men don't feel helpless or feel like something that we could do. You know, we look at it from the woman. I know 1 out of every 4 women have miscarriages, and at the time with us was 1 every 3. You know, so we look at the statistics. But men have effect on this too. So as I look in and forget all the things that happened in the show, this is a man who has just lost his child with a woman that at one time or even now that he loved. Because that was his fiance. They had an issue, whatever, they broke the wedding off. He still said he loved her. And they had a child together. He said he wanted to have a family and we put the family unit together. And now, as far as we know, I don't know what happened after the show, what happened last week on the episode when she found out that him and Paige, that she thought Paige was getting ready to be pregnant, and how she put him in place. They probably went back home and was trying to work this thing out. And so as they were trying to work this thing out, this news happens, because the way this shapes up is, this is right around decision day. Yeah. The way the time frame is, this right around decision day. So we don't know what else happens on the show, but he has to deal with the decision day. Then has to deal with the fact that his baby mama, or his, I don't know what I'm going to say ex-fiance, just lost a child. And he's got all these emotions on top of everything else. So as a man, that feels like the world is on your shoulders. And then being COVID, you can't go back there because you're not husband and wife. newsflash, there's a little teacher moment. That's why you should be husband and wife before somebody get pregnant.
Well, and again, we don't want to nitpick.
Don't want to nitpick.
But again, I know how visitation stuff is when it comes to COVID. And it's plenty of people that are having babies that's not married.
Yeah.
And I promise you, their partner can go back.
Yeah.
It's not a stipulation that you have to be married to now, unless somebody else was with her, which it doesn't sound like. He said they rushed her, like we rushed to the hospital. So it sounds like it was the two of them. I'm not sure. That part I'm kind of iffy about. She should have been able to have, at least most hospitals are doing where you have one visitor, especially laboring or pregnant women. So I think maybe somebody, I'm not saying he's not telling the truth, somebody didn't do something right or say something right, because you don't have, I mean, unmarried people have babies all the time, and the father can go back.
Yeah.
So
in this situation, what we want you to do is, look at it from not a perspective of Chris being on Married at First Sight.
And being how we see him acting
and seeing how his behavior is and how he acted on there. Look at it as a man who has a fiance who just lost his child. And I know, and that's the way you got to look at it. There's a time to mourn, time to cry. It's all those type of things that are built into this. But again, it is a man who lost a child that he never met, but yet he still loved, and that he wanted to come to fruition. Yeah,
and the one thing I want to say too is, he said he felt like it was a funeral. This was in October. Just to let you know, okay, so it's March now. Probably having to tell that story, he got that same rush of emotions all over again. It was a reminder of the loss. So he probably grieved in October, and he probably was grieving while he had to share this. But I mean, your life is on display. He didn't have to do it, but I understand him saying, let me explain. Since everybody's speculating and contemplating and trying to figure it out, this is what happened. And I don't know if you got something else to say, but I know before we close it out, I want to say something else.
Before we close it out, I want to say this, which might be reason why him and Mercedes are still together. Mm-hmm. Because if you lose this, you have a connection. Now you have a bond that you want to get close together. That you may find out, I messed up in this relationship before, I messed up here. But we have a common bond that will never be broken, that we lost a child together. So let me grow up and do what's right. Let me try to be a man and do what's right. Look, I made a mistake. I went on a show. I found out paid. Whatever the case may be. But when you have a traumatic situation that happens, some traumatic situations bring people closer together. Mm-hmm. I know with us, when we had this traumatic situation in our life, both times, it brought us closer together as husband and wife. It brought us closer together, where it was praying more together, reading more together, having more conversation, knowing for every moment, and yet out of it now we have a beautiful 7-year-old daughter.
Don't take what I was gonna say.
Oh, so anyway, I'm gonna let her. Who's one of my best friends? Who is my best? No, as she said, is my best friend. But I'm gonna let you take this. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say that too. So for anybody that's had a miscarriage, you're going through infertility issues, you're struggling with getting pregnant, or you've lost multiple babies, I can give you several. I'm going to just say, like my pastor says, you always have an opportunity to tell your testimony. Yeah. Your testimony never gets old. And so, yes, we lost the first baby, but after that, I have a almost 17-year-old. So, because you lose one doesn't mean that you can't again necessarily. And then after, so like I said, between then, after we had one child, another, and then we had a miscarriage, and then our youngest. So, with that pregnancy, we lost that baby at 16 weeks. That's a whole lot different than losing a baby at like 6 weeks. It's a bigger baby, different procedure you have to go through.
And the sex.
And it can be very disheartening, because before that, we were really trying, we were trying. It was a little bit of some time for us to get pregnant with, and we really desired this pregnancy and to lose the baby. And so when I got pregnant again, I didn't know if I wanted to get pregnant again. I didn't know if I wanted to try, if it was worth it. Just like, I don't know if I want to do it, but ended up getting pregnant. And we had trial after trial with that. Every time I went for ultrasound, They couldn't find a heartbeat. The nurse was ready for me to freak out, but I had decided, and you know, I made up in my mind that I'm not gonna freak out. And what's it gonna do? And if I'm pregnant for 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, the whole time, guess what? I'm not gonna be down. I'm not gonna be depressed. It's just gonna be what it is. And I'm talking about every time I went, they couldn't find a heartbeat. They had to have an ultrasound. I think I had 10 ultrasounds by the time it was all over with. But like he said, we have a 7-year-old, almost 8-year-old now, to show for it.
Yeah.
To show, you know, that, you know, God is able to do exceeding abundantly above all you can ask or think, and he can bless even after tragedy.
After tragedy. And you know, one thing I wanted to say too, especially the second one I think hurt. The first one really hurt. The second one hurt more with me because it was a boy.
Yeah, they did. That is what they found out when they did the ambulance.
They found out it was a boy. You know, to me as a husband, as a father,
we do have one son.
We do have one son. We do have a son.
Okay.
But that just to have another son, you know, because again, legacy, to carry on your family's name. We'll give you his. At the time I was the only one to carry on my last one to carry on my family name, but I do have a son that can do so. So I wanted to have that son, and to find out that you lost, it hurt me as a husband, as a man. So again, I can relate to what Chris is going through, or what he is going through in that situation. And so regardless of what he is on TV or what you would like him as TV, he's a real person.
Yeah. And
that's what I really want people to see. Regardless of the character or the person he portrays on Married at First Sight, he is a human being. And again, with feelings, with emotions, with all these type things, he is a human being. And guess what? He feels. And
that's why I'm hoping and I'm believing that being a real person.
Yeah.
You know, he called himself a man of God. You know, that this isn't something that you would make up. You wouldn't lie. Like he said, I mean, it is a lot to forge, you know, to go through the trouble of forging a hospital bracelet and paperwork and stuff. You know, like, I would hope nobody would go through all that. So, you know, prayerfully,
they both will get through it. They will, you know, whatever God has for them, or whatever relationship they have together, they'll be together or not be together, but they will always have this bond, and hopefully they grow and they have people around them, support system. Because as in closing this out, what helped us was having a support system around us to be able to help us and encourage us and talk to us and talk us through the miscarriage, and they'll tell you, you know, get back in it, it's going to be okay, you know, just one, you have opportunity. So again, hopefully they have a good support system to help them. And I really, again, don't let Chris, who's on Married at First Sight, make you lose your human compassion and empathy for the fact that it was still a man and a woman that lost a child that they love.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, you know, if you like the video, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell notification. It wasn't a review per se.
Yeah, I know it's something different, not what you used to, but
it's something different.
Breaking news.
Yeah, it's something different, but it's something that we really wanted to touch on because this is experience. This is a situation we can really relate to, and so we wanted to come out and share our thoughts and our story and our experience, and we hope it helps somebody. Just leave a comment in the comment section below what you think and what your thoughts are in this situation. And once again, hit the subscribe button and bell notification. Thank you. And don't forget, wait a minute. Come back later, 7 o'clock tonight. Yeah, if you're watching this on Sunday when we post it, you know, it's a little bit in the afternoon. Come back 7 o'clock tonight on Little Black Books 91's channel as we discuss this week's episode of Married at First Sight. Don't know if we're going to get to this topic tonight or not because it was breaking news earlier today. We might, but again, check it out. And if you're watching this after Sunday, check out the review. Go back and look at it. Go back and look at it. As we have August Love Story on, Little Black Book 91, Talisa Ray. We might have Stephanie Lee on tonight. So you never know. Once again, thank you for watching us. Make sure you hit the subscribe button and bell notification again, and we'll see you soon. Bye. Bye.